We are live. What is going on, everyone? Thank you all so much for tuning in at this time. Greatly appreciate it. Anybody that's watching this on the replay, thank you so much. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Well, not how we wanted to finish the year, right? The hope was, maintain, stay 2 games over 500 going into January, where we have a much better stretch, right? We have a 5-game homestand coming up, which is good. Lakers could use it. Lakers need it. Kind of recalibrate here a little bit. All these back-to-backs, all these road travels, and everything. So, hopefully this is the this is the beginning of okay, the year's done. It's over with. We leave that in the past. It is what it is. Let's move forward. Let's gain some traction. Right. Let's get 6, 7, 8 games over 500. Going into the end of January. That would be the hope, right? The Lakers have just been mediocre, right? They really have. They're a 500 team now. And, they basically have been that all year. They had, it's crazy because, 3 weeks ago or whatever it was, right? 3.5 weeks ago, whatever. It was like the Lakers just win the in-season tournament. We're 5 games over 500, right? We're looking like, oh, this is it. We're going on a run here. Let's go. Right, we got the in-season tournament championship. Now let's go get the Larry O'Brien trophy. All right, let's complete the trifecta. And now it's like, are we even going to make we'll make the play-in, but it's like, are we really going to be a play-in team again this year after being a conference finals team, bringing everyone back, all that stuff? It's like, what do you do? What do you do at this point? It's just, look, the Lakers got to get a trade. I even made a community post earlier talking about how, I don't know how you watch these games and don't think we need Zach LaVine, right? Again, if somebody was better, if Donovan Mitchell became available and we realistically could go trade for Donovan Mitchell, then I'd be preaching Donovan Mitchell. It's just not the case, right? We only have what's available. We only have what's realistic and within our asset range. And unfortunately, we're very limited on what it could be. Again, Zach LaVine doesn't solve all of our issues, but he solves 70% of them. Again, it's another game where the Lakers are in it in a good chunk, but they just can't score. So then they create separation. Lakers go on a little mini run, and then boom, they just couldn't get it under single digits. They go over. It's just, again, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? This team just hasn't been good, right? So the only way you're going to fix it is via trade. You're going to have to do something to improve this roster. The roster is just not good enough. We just don't have anybody that consistently game in and game out is providing offense outside of Taurean Prince, right? Taurean Prince has been our most consistent player. Again, not named LeBron. Let's remove LeBron James and Anthony Davis out of the equation. Basically all year, he had that handful of game stretch. He had the first game where he gave us 18. Then he had the third game where he gave us 20. And they had a 3-game stretch where he was bad. And then after that, he's giving you 3 to 4 threes a game, every game like clockwork, right? But beyond him, that's it, right? Reeves shows up one game and then just disappears the next, right? Or he'll have a couple game stretch. He had that 5-game stretch or whatever where he was great. And then he just hasn't been able to replicate that since. It's just, we're just not good enough. We're just not a good enough basketball team. It's frustrating. I hate saying it. I hate admitting it. I never thought this offseason we'd be hey, the Lakers are just not good, right? They're good. They're a good team. They're just not good enough, right? They're mid, right? They're an average team. They're better than the bad teams. They're not good enough to beat the good teams. We are middle of the pack team. We are, a play into maybe we squeeze into the 6th seed team if we're lucky, right? It's just outside of that. That's what the Lakers are, right? So unless they have some miraculous turnaround, I don't see it. Injuries continue to pile on, right? Rui Hachimura got injured in this game. He has a calf strain. D'Lo was out. Reddish was out. It's just what do you do? The only thing I can think of is you go make a trade for Zach LaVine. Hopefully you can get Andre Drummond. That solves your center issue. That solves your elite scorer and another shooter. Guy shoots 45% off the ball from 3-point range. So you got that. And then maybe you could go get like a Royce O'Neal or something like that to go give you another, Torian Prince type player, 3-and-D style guy that can guard multiple positions, play multiple positions, and then, run a unit out there like that, right? Like give me like LaVine, Prince, Royce O'Neal, LeBron, and AD, whatever, something like that. But Lakers got to do something. They got to do something. But anyway, let's jump into the box scores here, and then I will answer all of your super chat questions and all of your regular questions, stuff like that. Also, real quick, Happy New Year's, everybody. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful night, and be safe. Don't get crazy. Uber's a thing, right? A lot of craziness in this world, so just be careful, be safe, please. I need to see all of you in these live streams going forward and stuff. So again, Happy New Year's, everyone. Also, real quick, do me a solid, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed, and let's dive into the box scores, and then we'll do the super chats and stuff like that. But diving into it, LeBron did everything he could to try to keep us in this game, right? I mean, everything. 12 of 24 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3, so 50% from the field, 43% from three-point range, 5 rebounds, 8 assists, 34 points. Again, like he did what he could do. Anthony Davis gave us another double-double game, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists. He also had 5 blocks, which is crazy. I didn't even realize. I mean, I was watching that game start to finish. I didn't feel like he got 5. I guess he did, because he did get like 2 or 3 in that like one sequence. So, but then Reeves gave you 20. But again, if you saw that game, right, he kind of in the third quarter went on that nice little stretch, which was nice. But he wasn't. He just has to work so hard, right? He can't just go get a bucket, right? He has to draw contact or get to the foul line or, basically get into the teeth of the defense and, do something to try to create something out of nothing. But he did shoot 7 of 12 from the field in total, but he was 1 of 5 from 3. He did have 9 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. But he was also our biggest minus at minus 19. Then you had Torian Prince again. Mentioned earlier, he's been our most consistent guy all season, not named LeBron James and Anthony Davis. 5 of 9 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3. I mean, every game you can count on this guy to give you 3 to 4 threes a game on like good efficiency. I mean, the guy is killing it. 4 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Getting it down on the defense side, 15 points. But outside of that, you didn't really have anyone noticeable. Max Christie struggled. I understand people want Max Christie to get heavy minutes and stuff. But again, every time he gets heavy minutes, he struggles, right? Like when you look at his game, like when he's in there and he's just kind of playing like 10 minutes or whatever, he's a guy that go give you, 7 points or whatever in that stretch or whatever. But like defensively, I mean, he's solid, right? He rebounds the ball well for a guard. But I just don't think he's like the major answer, right? I know people are like, you got to play Max Christie. Max Christie has to be in the rotation. Like, I don't mind him getting some minutes, but 30 minutes a game. I understand. I mean, look, I don't knock it this game because again, we didn't have anybody. Rui goes down. You don't have Cam Reddish, right? So I get Max Christie makes sense this game, but he's not like, what is he? He's not going to solve much is the problem. But Christian Wood. He struggled a bit this game. 1 of 4 from the field. But again, all of his shots were threes. I talk about it, right? Like, it's not Wood. Like, Wood can occasionally hit a 3, but when he's just basically relegated to just standing in the corner shooting threes all game, you're not going to get much production from him, right? Like, that's not his game. But he did give you 5 rebounds, but again, just another rough game. But anyway, let's dive into your super chats and then jump into all of your questions, concerns, comments, and all that stuff. Appreciate all of you guys. So let's dive into it. Andrew, coming out, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Vando's offense needs to be studied. It's absurdly bad. Yeah, I mean, which is crazy because he worked all offseason on it, right? I mean, there was videos, there was things. I mean, granted, videos can be deceiving, right? He looks good in videos. He looks good in shoot around, but also in shoot around is very different than actual gameplay, right? anybody can knock down wide open threes and shoot around, but you get to the game, it's a different story. Yeah, I mean, look, he's arguably, when he's good and healthy and normal, he's arguably the best on-ball defender in the league. He's amazing when he's got things going, but the problem is he's just such a liability offensively. And teams just leave him wide open. So then we're playing 4-on-5, and he just can't provide you anything on the offensive side. It's just, what do you do? That's the problem. We don't have many two-way guys. We have guys that are like very specific. Like the closest thing we have to a two-way guy is Taurean Prince. And Taurean Prince isn't like an elite three-point or not an elite shooter. He's not an elite defender, right? He's a good defender, right? He's serviceable. He can, maintain, right? He's not going to constantly get beat and just, he's not an open door defensively, but he's not Jared Vanderbilt. Like if you gave Jared Vanderbilt Taurean Prince's shot, he'd be the best guy in the league as far as like 3-and-Ds go. But Andrew, coming out the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Every game, win or lose, confirms the necessary trades need to happen. LaVine, Caruso, Royce, Dorian Finney-Smith, Drummond, AR, Rui, D'Lo, Gabe, Max, JHS, every pick, all in. Yeah, I mean, look, if we can get LaVine, Drummond from the Bulls, and then get at least Royce O'Neal, I'm all for that. I would love to get Dorian Finney-Smith also, right? Like, especially like if we could work out like a 3-team deal to where we land LaVine, Royce, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Drummond, and we basically send maybe Rui to the Nets, and we send some whatever D'Lo and Vincent and AR or whatever there to the Bulls or whatever, and then a first both ways, and we get that. Like, I wouldn't be against it at all. Because at that point, I mean, you're scary, right? Because, I mean, you could have a starting five of, like, LaVine, Dorian Finney-Smith. Well, I'd probably go with Prince because he's just been so good. So maybe go, like, LaVine, Prince, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron, and AD. Like, that's good. Or if you wanted to, you could go with Royce O'Neal because Royce O'Neal is a slightly better defender. So you could go like LaVine, Royce, Dorian, LeBron, and AD, and you're in really good shape. You got nice balance in starting unit. That'd probably be the closing unit. Yeah, like I wouldn't hate that at all. But the Lakers, they got to do something. They really do. They got to do something. If we really want to like try to win the championship this year, we got to do something. But anyway, let's dive into the rest of the chat here. What's going on, Jason? Appreciate you being here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to see if could you let me know? I heard about a good season. I have no idea. I didn't watch any of the other games. I was actually working and watching the Twilight Zone marathon. That's how you do it. But didn't they play the Spurs today? So they played the Spurs. Then yes, they won today. I don't see them losing the Spurs. But appreciate you being here. What's going on? How are you? Time for Ham to go. Again, don't count on it. I would be shocked if they fired Ham this year. Look, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. I'm not saying any of that. But this guy just started a 4-year extension. The Lakers aren't going to fire him mid-season, right? Who's your better option right now anyway, right? Like, who's out there that makes sense? Mark Jackson's never going to get a coaching job in the league after what happened with Golden State. Doc Rivers is going to go down in history as, like, the most underachieving coach in NBA history. Budenholzer is basically Darvin Ham. That's where Darvin Ham learned all of his coaching from. So, like, who are you going to get this year? There's nobody that's like, oh, that's the guy that should be coaching. And the Lakers aren't going to pay Darvin Ham for 4 years to not coach. And then on top of that, pay another coach 4 years to not coach. So again, don't hold your breath. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to at least deal with them at bare minimum this year. Probably the next two. You'll probably deal with them this year and next year. But I see you next year. Ham is terrible. Hate Ham, win or lose. Trade for LaVine. I think so too. We suck. Yep. Man, I know this was tough. This is very tough. I don't see any solutions. There's always solutions. Right. Again, you go get Zach LaVine. That solves like 70% of your woes. And then if you can get an Andre Drummond and then, like I said, a Royce O'Neal, which are all real, like none of those are unrealistic to get. If you get those three guys, that solves like 90% of your issues. At that point, it's just effort, energy, and showing up to the games. But tired of this. I feel it. Happy New Year's. I want everybody to go ham in 2024, and I don't mean Darvin. Wow, I know that was tough. All in for LaVine, no questions. Yeah, Lakers are officially ass. Yeah, they're not a very good basketball team. I thought last night was hopeful, but fridge. Go get Zach LaVine. Go get Finney Smith. Go get everyone. Yeah, whatever you have to do. Go get what you have to get. Make it happen. Figure it out. It's just, again, Lakers got to do something. Got to do something. Andrew, coming out the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Laker fans afraid of LaVine's health when half of our roster gets injured every week. There is no continuity or chemistry. They're all inconsistent and hurt. Agreed. And look, Zach LaVine hasn't played less than like 60 games in the last like 5 years. Right? So many people are like worried about his injury. Like, and we're not in the era where players like, who was the last guy, like star or like even borderline star to play 82 games? Right? Like the only one that I can think of that's like borderline all-star that plays almost every game is guys like Mikal Bridges. Didn't Mikal Bridges like not miss a game for like 3 years? Outside of that, like everybody plays around like 65 to 70 games now. It's just what we are in the NBA. Everybody, right? Like Joel Embiid has missed a bunch of games. If he became available, are you not going to trade for him? I mean, obviously it's a little bit of an extreme because Zach LaVine isn't Joel Embiid, but still, I mean, the point is that you can't make decisions based on injuries, right? LaVine played 77 games last year, played like 70 games the year before, right? The year before that, he played like 65 or something like that, 67, right? So you have basically a 5-year sample size of him playing 60. Like the last time he played fewer than 60 games was like literally like in 2018 or whatever, 2017. And so, I mean, look, that's all we need him to do. LeBron and AD only play like 20 games a year anyway. So not 20 games, miss 20 games a year anyway. So as long as they're like, you don't have all three of them out at the same time, you'd be fine. Right. So I don't think that like the health concerns, I don't think are as big of a concern. Like people are acting like the guy plays 25 games a year or like 40 games a year. Like he's not Zion. Right? Like, don't get me wrong. Would I love for him to play 82 games? Yeah, I would. But I'd also love AD and Giannis and Jokic and Embiid and all of them to play 82 games. It's just we're not in that era anymore. Guys have little nagging things and they sit out, right? Because they don't want the nagging thing to turn into a big thing. It's just how it goes, unfortunately. What's going on? Thank you so much for $2 super chat. Fire him and make a trade. Bring in Doc Rivers. Yeah, like I mentioned, they're not going to fire him this year, right? I mean, they're just not. He just is getting into a new contract, right? So if they fired him now, they'd have to pay him for 4 years. You're in the middle of the season. Again, who are you going to get? Like, even if you got Doc Rivers, like, what has Doc ever done? I mean, he has the NBA record for most 3-1 wins. The guy has underachieved everywhere he's been. He's been let go everywhere he's been for that reason of just underachieving, losing the locker room. He makes no in-game. Like, you think Darvin Ham is bad at times? Like, watch Doc Rivers. Like, when he was with the Sixers and with the Clippers, like, dude, that guy made 0 changes in games, right? He would just let these guys call out or play out. Look, he's respected in the league. Players love him. He's a player's coach, right? But Doc Rivers isn't it. Dude, that guy's had as much talent as probably any coach in the league history, and he's done nothing but underachieve. I mean, he had that Celtics team, and they won 1 NBA championship. They should have won at least 2 or 3, right? Like, again, just no changes, no adjustments, no nothing. The Clippers, every year for like 7 years, the Clippers were the best team in the league. And every year they lost in the second round, right? Like, I just don't think I think Darvin Ham is a lateral movement. I don't think he's like this upgrade over Darvin Ham. And then now what? Now the Lakers are paying Darvin Ham for the next 4 years, paying Doc Rivers for the next 4 years, and then everyone's going to say fire Doc Rivers, and the Lakers literally can't. They're stuck with Doc Rivers. So if the Lakers are going to change their coach, it's going to have to be for somebody that, like, okay, this guy makes sense for the next, 5 years at least, if not longer. Right? Like that was why the Lakers wanted Darvin Ham to begin with, because it was like, okay, this could be a guy that we could have for the next like 10 years. He's young, he's hungry, right? He just needed an opportunity. Now he has the opportunity. So obviously it hasn't worked out the way that we had hoped. But again, like if the Lakers are going to fire Darvin Ham, it's going to be for somebody that like, okay, like Steve Kerr wants to change the scenery. It's like, okay, go get Steve Kerr, like something like that. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. You know, Christian coming out the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I feel like the Lakers are trying to be cheap going for Murray. Stop. Let's get Zach. He's legit 26 point per game scorer. He's on AD and Bron scoring level. I've said this before. I'm with you, Christian. I have a ton of concerns with DeJounte Murray. Right. He's not a great shooter. He's not good off the ball, which, again, playing alongside AD or playing alongside LeBron James, you're going to have to play off the ball. On top of him not being good off the ball, he's not a good finisher at the rim. Like, that's been one of his biggest knocks his whole career, just not being able to finish around the rim. So, like, those are all three things the Lakers desperately need. It doesn't provide any of it. The Lakers have tried to get a point guard every year since the bubble, and none of them have worked out because LeBron is the point guard. Right, so you go get a guy like Zach LaVine. He shoots 45% on catch and shoot threes. Right, he's excellent off the ball. He's a guy that you could just go give a bucket to, right, and just go generate offense. Right, the Lakers again had another stint this game where they went 0 of 8 from the field. Right, you have Zach LaVine. It's like, dude, we're 0 of 5 from the field. LaVine, just go get a bucket, please. Just go get to the foul line, do something, and he's capable of doing it. When LeBron goes to the bench, you have that guy that can just go get buckets. He's going to have the easiest time he's ever had in his life because he's going to be playing alongside LeBron James. He's going to be playing alongside Anthony Davis. All the open looks he's going to get, all just the easy offense he's going to be able to generate because he's going to be able to go one-on-one with guys more times than not, where, you know, most places he's been at, teams are, you know, double teaming him when he gets the ball, trying to get the ball out of his hands, especially when he's cooking. You got to go get him. You just do. I mean, he's the guy that makes the most sense. This is a guy that, again, I've said this before, and it's true. There's no denying it. If the Lakers traded for Zach LaVine, he would immediately be our best natural scorer. I mean, I'm talking LeBron, AD, talking about our best just natural scorer. Again, LeBron can go and get you 50 a game if he wanted to, but unless his shot is falling, which is always kind of iffy, right? Like, he's more just get to the basket, put his head down, get to the basket, right? He's not this like super gifted, shoot at all three levels, shoot over the top, right? Just blow by the defender and pull up in the midi, right? Step back, fade away three or whatever, right? Like LeBron at times, he has that going, right? Anthony Davis, right? Like he can hit the three on occasion. He can hit the mid-range on occasion, right? This year, he's been much better. So I'll give him credit in that regard, but even that can go cold sometimes. LaVine, he's a bucket getter, right? Like that's what he is. You know, do I think he's worth $40 million? No. But again, the Lakers are not in a position to where they can go and trade for a Donovan Mitchell if he becomes available, right? Otherwise, I'd be like, go get that guy, right? Like, I'm not saying LaVine is the absolute greatest option in the entire league. He's not. But what do the Lakers have that's realistic, that is available and obtainable? Zach LaVine is that guy. So I'm right there with you, Christian. I appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. But let's keep the party going. Where was I? Okay, here we go. Happy New Year's, Laker fans. Thank you. Appreciate you. LaVine is not enough. He's not, I mean, he doesn't fix everything, but he fixes a lot, right? I mean, obviously the Lakers could use more. Again, go get an Andre Drummond. Can you go get a Royce O'Neal or something? Or maybe you get a guy that, you know, we're just not thinking of at this time, right? Rob Pelinka has done a good job of like finding those value trades. So I trust that he will continue to do that. And if he does, then we're in good shape, right? But I think LaVine is a start, right? Like, I think even if you just got LaVine, like the Lakers are going to be undeniably better. They're going to be just so much better, right? Because now you have a guy that can consistently generate offense by himself. He doesn't need to be set up. He doesn't need to go, Like, no, he can just get the ball and go, right? He's a one-man fast break if he wants to be, because he's got the athleticism and foot speed. He applies rim pressure, right? Again, he's not the, you get Zach LaVine and now you're the best team in the league, but it gives us a much better opportunity. Much better. Let's see. Front office sucks, not doing nothing, keeping the coach. I'm tired of it. Again, what is the front office supposed to do? Front office cannot make a trade right now, even if they wanted to, because you have to wait till the 15th for guys to be available. So I don't know what you want them to do there. And then technically they can make like a small trade or whatever, but the big money guys aren't available till January. So I don't know what they're supposed to do there. And again, the coach, who are you supposed to hire? Again, like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't fire the coach. I'm not saying Darvin Ham isn't bad or anything like that. But again, like, you fire a coach and then what? You're going to go hire a new coach, and then that coach has to figure it out midway through the season. And then if that doesn't work out, everyone's going to want that coach fired. And it's like, so what? The Lakers are supposed to pay $5. Like, you can't. You literally can't. So the Lakers, it makes no sense for the Lakers to fire the coach. They're not going to just sign a new contract, right? It's unfortunate. It sucks, but it has nothing to do with the front office. It's just the situation we're in. Happy New Year's, as 2024 as says. Thank you. I appreciate you. Happy New Year's to you and everybody. Let's see. What a joke. The offense is a joke. So hard to get simple buckets. Make a trade. Yep, I'm with you. We need a big center is what we need. I mean, it wouldn't hurt, but look, the Lakers can't score, right? Like, what big center are you going to get that solves our scoring issue, right? Like, Anthony, especially come playoff time, Anthony Davis is going to play 40 minutes a game at the center position, right? So I think your number one priority is to go get that scorer, and then you fill in the blanks from there. Go get Zach LaVine, and then, like I said, if you can get Andre Drummond, great. If not, see who gets bought out, get somebody in the buyout market, or if not, you got guys like Myers Leonard or DeMarcus Cousins or whomever that you can just plug in just for the playoffs, and you'll be fine. But they need somebody that can just go get buckets right now. We have not a lot of assets. Yeah, we have very few assets. Very few assets. Let's see. Y'all casuals, you want Zach LaVine because even when the Lakers win, I've said that they need Zach LaVine. It has nothing to do with the loss. Lakers could have won this game, and I still would have said that they need Zach LaVine. It has nothing to do with that. It's just the fact that the Lakers need Zach LaVine. I don't know how you look at this team and you don't go, oh, we need a scorer. At this point, I don't care. We suck. Time for trades. Yeah. It's the only problem. It wasn't there. Some buzz. The Warriors want LaVine. I don't see that at all. Like, that makes zero sense for the Warriors. Right? Like, they need like perimeter guys or a center. I think they need to call Toronto. Like, if I'm the Warriors, I'm doing whatever I can to go get Jakob Poeltl and like OG Anunoby, and now you're set, right? Because now you got like Steph, Clay, OG Anunoby, Draymond Green, and Jakob Poeltl. Like, you're great defensively out on the perimeter and in the interior. Right? You still have Steph and Clay to offset the poor shooting of like Jakob Poeltl, and even though Draymond has been shooting well this year, like, I don't know. I just think Toronto solves a lot of like the Warriors' issues. That's realistic that they can get. It's always the people that are like, "Oh, you're a casual," are the ones that always leave the silliest. Like, it just makes no sense. Like, people are always like, "Oh, you're a casual because of this," and then leave a dumb comment. It just makes no sense to me. Shaking my head. This team is terrible. No urgency and heart. Tough way to finish the year. Yeah, it's not how I wanted to finish the year at all. At all. It is. It's frustrating. It's tough. It's tough. Andrew, coming out the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. The Rush trade has damaged the psyche of a lot of Laker fans, which I get to an extent. They fear LaVine because LaVine is one of the best fits in the NBA for the Lakers right now. Yeah, I mean, again, I see so many people say like, oh, like, you really want a Rush situation all over again. Like, this isn't even like close. It's like nowhere comparable. One, the Lakers had to trade all their depth to go get Russell Westbrook. The Lakers don't have to trade all their depth. The reason the Lakers had to trade all their depth last time is because they didn't have sizable tradable contracts, which the Lakers do now, right? So they still would maintain pretty much all of their depth. Most of the guys are signed up and locked up long-term anyway. You basically would have your team locked up regardless, right? Like, and the problem was that Russ just didn't fit with the Lakers. there's no question Zach LaVine should fit with the Lakers. Talking about a guard that can score, go get buckets, and play well. Also, like, look at like the success that LeBron has had. Like, he's always had a guy in the mold of like a Zach LaVine, right? Whether it's Dwayne Wade, obviously Dwayne Wade was much better defensively, but he also wasn't the shooter that LaVine was. But you know, that guard that could just take over down the stretches, just go get buckets, right? Take pressure off of LeBron, right? Kyrie, obviously, you can just hand the ball to Kyrie, you can just go get a bucket, you can shoot three, play on the ball, play off the ball. Gives you a lot of the same stuff, right? You know, like, I'm not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying, right? Like, LeBron has won championships alongside guys like that, where you have a guy that can just go be a bucket getter and just go help you score, right? So Zach LaVine needs that. We need some athleticism out in the guard position, and we need just rim pressure, which Zach LaVine provides. You need off-ball shooting, which Zach LaVine provides, right? Like, what are the things that the Lakers need? They could use another big man. They could use some like two-way guys, 3-and-D type guys, and they could use a scorer, and they need some three-point shooting, right? Well, Zach LaVine solves like half of that. He solves the three-point shooting. Again, 45% catch, shoot three. And then he solves the just go-to scorer and just bucket getter, right? The only thing he doesn't solve is like the 3-and-D defensive guy. But you have guys that are just, they're not good offensively, but excellent defensively. So how do you balance that? You go get a guy that's excellent offensively. And Zach LaVine has had years where he's been like serviceable defensively. He has the athleticism, he has the size, he has the foot speed, right? You put him in the right defensive schemes, you have guys around him, he can play defense. He's had good years and good stretches where he's been solid defensively. Again, not some like lockdown defensive guy, but he's had good years. Let's see. Pelicans play defense and shot well from the three. Yes, they did. Bro, I'm sorry, Austin, you're not enough anymore. And I really don't want you to go, but we need to improve. And if it involves you, I don't care at this point. Yeah, I mean, again, you don't trade Reeves just to trade Reeves, but if it's something that makes sense, then you do it. You have to do it, right? Because you need, like, again, you're in win now. If you can get multiple trades and you include Austin Reeves and it makes you a legit contender and you have a chance to win a championship, you have to do it. Plus, as much as I like Reeves, as much as I want Reeves to be here long term, as much as I'm sure many people do, if you sold the farm and got, you know, Zach LaVine, Andre Drummond, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Royce O'Neal, and then you still had, you know, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, Christian Wood, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, like, you're still 8-9 guys deep, and then you still have the buyout market, right? Like, and the Lakers go win a championship, is anyone going to be like, oh, man, that's like, we shouldn't have made that trade? No, you just won the NBA championship. Now, obviously, you got to still win the championship. You got to put stuff together, but they would be a much better team. I like Reeves. He just hasn't been consistent this year, which is a problem, which is a concern, you know? And the problem is that, like, he still has insane trade value, right? Everyone still wants Austin Reeves. Like, what if this is who Austin Reeves is? The Lakers don't make the trade Austin Reeves, and then he never – because after so long, he's going to lose his trade value. At some point, he's going to lose his luster because teams are going to be like, okay, he wasn't the guy that we thought he was, right? If he year in and year out does this. He had a great stretch last year, don't get me wrong. But, again, it's like he's had almost as much of a sample size of him being bad or inconsistent. So it's like at what point it's like, okay, this is just kind of who he is, right? So – I don't know. Again, you don't just trade him just to trade him, but you know, it's got to be somewhere in between. Bros and a Lakers stream saying we suck. I mean, he's not really wrong. That's the problem. I mean, I think we're a good team. We're just not good enough. Like, we're not a contending team by any stretch. Let's see. That game was a blowout. Yep, they paid us back. Okay, at this point, I don't know what we need. We need a couple of these. First, LOL, Lakers, you are going to be fine. You started this way last year and turned it around big time. Lakers always have something up their sleeves. Yeah, I mean, look, like I said, you make the right trades, you make the proper trades. You know, you put yourself in a good position. All of a sudden, you're right back to the conference finals and potentially winning the NBA finals. So, It's never over till it's over. LeBron could not stop Zion. I mean, when Zion is Zion for a reason. That's why people are so upset that he's been disappointing so far. This team only relies on LeBron James and Anthony Davis. What a dumb roster. Just a dumb coach job. Jose took care of us tonight. Revenge for the 500 game. Dude, that guy was just swipe. He was swipey, no swipey, all over the Lakers this game. Let's see. We need two-way players, not only defensive or offensive guys. Yeah, but the problem is every team in the league wants two-way players. So it's like, how many can you get? What versatility can you get? And what do we already have? And how do we balance it? Right? We already have elite defensive guys in Cam Reddish and Jared Vanderbilt, but they're liabilities offensively. So, yes, you could upgrade those guys, sure, but you can still do that and then go get the extreme the other way. Go get that elite scorer that could go give you 30 to 50 on any given night to play alongside those defensive guys. And now you have that balance, right? Like, again, we need two-way guys. I agree. But you have several one-way guys that are great and top in that category. So what do? Go get a top in the other category, and now there you go. Now you have that balance. Bro, the Lakers schedule at this point on it's going to get harder and harder. Yeah, but being at home, I think they'll win a lot of games. Let's see. Front office is definitely unnoticed. Look, there's no way the front office isn't looking at Darvin Ham and going like, okay, like he's not doing what we need him to do. But again, like the Lakers, like what are their options right now? That's the problem. You saw the report. Ham and AR don't like each other. So the report, like if you actually read the report, it didn't say like there was like evidence. It was just kind of like body language and like murmurs. So like I don't like that's why I didn't even talk about it because it's just like it sounds like just nonsense to me. Like again, go read the reports. Like the reports, like it doesn't say that they like hate each other or like anything like that. Like it just there's no like evidence. It wasn't like oh Austin Reeves and Darvin Ham had like an argument in the locker room or anything. And it wasn't even like oh Austin Reeves told this guy that. It was just kind of like Austin Reeves can't be happy based on being on the bench still, and the Lakers are struggling, and blah, blah, blah. And, like, Austin Reeves is struggling because he's upset with Darvin Ham and stuff. Like, it's all, like, just gossip, like, hearsay that it just seems like some random person just is throwing something out there just to try to, like, stir drama, right? Like, again, like, if I saw something that was like, okay, like, this is noteworthy, then I probably would have talked about it. But to me, like, that whole report, like if you read the report, it's not like there's no like evidence supporting it. There's no like there's not even like it's not even like a guy familiar with the situation or where they always say like something stupid like that where it's like oh the guy's brother's cousin's nephew's uncle said that Austin Reeves is unhappy. It's just like oh based on what I've seen from the Lakers, it doesn't look like Darvin Ham and Austin Reeves get along. And it's like well okay well what evidence do you have? Well, nothing. It's just I just feel like that's the case, right? It's just so I don't really know. I'm not saying that it isn't. Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe they are, not seeing eye to eye. But it also talks about how like, Austin Reeves or Darvin Ham refuses to play Austin Reeves more than 30 minutes a game, right? But like Reeves is averaging like 29 minutes a game or something like that. So it's like if he was playing like 15. And then it's like, oh, Darvin Ham doesn't trust Austin Reeves, but like he's the guy that closes every game and has the ball in his hands late in every game. And Darvin Ham plays him even like when he shouldn't, right? Like Austin Reeves will be absolutely terrible. And he just keeps playing Austin Reeves. Like literally all the actions on the basketball court literally say the opposite of what the report says. So I just think it's nonsense. Personally, again, I don't know. I don't know Austin Reeves personally. I don't know Darvin Ham personally. I'm not in the Lakers locker room to be able to say like, oh, this is true or not. But everything I read that entire report and I was like, this just sounds like a high school gossip column. Like, but yeah. Anyway, appreciate the super chat. Thank you. Where were we? That game was a disaster. I feel it. Man, this is a team we beat by 44. Goes to show we are not winning anything this year. My hopes is gone. I mean, look, I've said it before. Lakers get to the playoffs, I'll still take my chances. LeBron James and Anthony Davis are playing spectacular. If they're healthy, no team has beaten them in the playoffs besides Denver. And LeBron James needed foot surgery, and Anthony Davis shouldn't even have played that series because he had a foot issue. And I mean, you can even extend it to D'Lo. D'Lo had a foot injury going into it that he was managing. I mean, he sat games before the playoffs because of it. So, like, I'll take my chances. Like, there's still, like, in a playoff series, like, there's not many teams in the West that, like, I don't think we can beat, right? Like, seriously, in a playoffs. Like, do you think we lose to the Pelicans in a playoff series? I don't. I think, I mean, as bad as we played, until the end of that game, we're still, like, in striking range on numerous occasions. Right? Like, Lakers played about as bad a basketball as we can, but we've also seen them pick it up in, like, playoff environment. So, again, I'll take my chances. Would I bet on them? No. Like, do I think, like, hey, Lakers are going to win it? Don't worry. Like, no. But, my thing is, like, the Lakers you're going to have to beat the Lakers. Again, they're not great. They're not, like, a team that I would, sell the farm and pick as, like, a top 4 team. But, like, again, like, I'm not the only team that, like, I have any remote concern about is, like, Denver and Boston. Like, even Minnesota, right? Like, that's 2 games where we played 2 games on the road in Mini, and we were in both of those games, had a chance to win. You can argue we probably should have won the last game, but LeBron got robbed. Granted, I know it would have went in overtime and stuff, but still, I think LeBron would have. I mean, he was on a heater at that point. But both of those games, the Lakers played about as poor as they could. One of the games you didn't even have LeBron. And then this game, Lakers played about as bad as they could, and they still had a chance to win that game. Like, so I like our odds against them. And every time we've played them in a game that actually, like, matters, like a play-in or something like that, we've beaten them. So, again, like, yeah, I know that they have, like, a winning record against us in the regular season the last few years, but every time we've played a game that matters, guess what? We win. So take my chances is my point. But anyway, time will tell. Andrew, coming out of the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. I see a lot of people act like Zach is a marginal improvement to D'Lo and AR. It's honestly insulting. LaVine is at a completely different level. So I broke this down in my last video because I got a lot of people, like, kind of saying that stuff. So, like, if you go look at the the video after, like, about the Wolves game, like, hey, this game shows why we need Zach LaVine. But to basically summarize, so, like, Zach LaVine is even, like, as bad as he's been this year, which, yeah, I don't know how much I put into it, given that he's going to likely be out, traded, stuff, change of scenery would be good. But basically, like, people are like, okay, where's Zach LaVine going to get his shot attempts? So D'Lo and Rui, which are 2 guys you're going to trade for Zach LaVine, are averaging combined 4 more field goal attempts than Zach LaVine. So Zach LaVine technically could shoot 4 more shots a game than he is averaging for his career and the last, like, 5. He averages around, I even rounded it up, like, a attempt, but basically he averages roughly 18 attempts per game. D'Lo's averaging 12, Rui's averaging 10. So there's 22. So basically, Zach LaVine could shoot 20 shots a game, and it wouldn't take away from anybody else, right? So he gets that 20%. He is a better shooter than D'Lo, better shooter than way better shooter than Rui. Maybe not the mid-range, but even that, I think, is arguable, right? But he's definitely a better three-point shooter. So he could shoot 4 more attempts per game, and he is more efficient and is averaging more than both of those guys combined. So you're talking about more efficiency. He could take more shots and is more dynamic of an offensive player. And people are like, we should keep D'Lo and Rui over Zach LaVine. Make that make sense. Like, Zach LaVine is literally more efficient than both of those guys combined, scores more points than both of those guys combined, and takes fewer shot attempts than both of those guys combined. Like, again, like, he will be fine. He will fit in. He will be great. He will probably get more shots than he gets now because he won't be playing alongside of DeMar DeRozan that he has to take his 25 shots a game or whatever. right? LeBron is going to set him up nicely. He's going to get looks like he's never gotten before. So he's going to be even more efficient, right? You're talking about a guy that I think with the bare minimum, he'll average 20 a game. Bare minimum, right? I mean, he's having like arguably one of the worst seasons of his career this year, and he's still averaging 21 points per game. Like, you don't think he'd be better with next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis? So even if he just averages out, right, then he'd give you basically 22 points a game, every game, like clockwork. And that's not counting the game where he goes off for 40 or the game he goes off for 30, which is far more regular than D'Lo or Rui or anybody else, right? Like, again, I mean, he has a 50-point game this year, right? So, like, again, I think people are concerned about the wrong things. Like, when they talk about LaVine, like, I haven't really seen anybody give me, like, a compelling argument as to why we don't need LaVine. It's kind of just like, well, LaVine's injury prone. Like, the guy's played 77 games or 70-plus games the last, like, 3 years. Like, again, that's more than league average for stars. So he hasn't been that injury prone these last few years. And then it's like, oh, well, yeah, his contract's big. Well, again, the Lakers are over the cap regardless. Like, no matter, and even if they make a trade for someone else, they're still going to be way over. They're still going to be in the luxury tax regardless. So, again, you're stuck with your team regardless. Well, the Lakers wouldn't have depth. They would. They'd still be like 10 deep, right? Like, literally, especially if you can get Andre Drummond, you'd be like 10 deep, right? But even if you don't get Andre Drummond, you're still going to be like 8 deep. Once you get to the playoffs, you're not going to run 12 guys anyway, right? You know, and then people be like, oh, well, what's another thing? Like, defense, right? Like, oh, he's a poor defender, right? So is anybody else that would get. Like, who are we going to get that's going to be a great defender, right? DeJounte Murray has been worse defensively than D'Lo this year by a landslide, right? And people are like, yeah, but he'll be better. I agree. He probably will be better. But how much better? Zach LaVine has had good defensive years, right? Like, so I just, again, like, what argument is there that doesn't make sense? Right? The only thing that Zach LaVine's contract does is it affects the tax. But Jeannie herself has said publicly that she'll pay whatever it costs as long as we're winning, right? So if the Lakers are winning, guess what? She's going to pay, right? And the only thing it affects is like the biannual and stuff like that anyway, and then the repeater tax. But we're going to be in that regardless because we're already hard capped this year. Everybody's locked up 3, 4, 5 years anyway. So no matter what, we're in that position. So what does Zach LaVine impact, right? So, like, again, it's just, I don't know. I just don't see an argument to not make that happen, personally. Let's see. I honestly think most people don't know Zach LaVine's offensive bag. They think he's an athletic dunker only. They forget he was also in three-point contests. Yeah, I mean, most people, right, don't watch, like, every player, right? Like, I get comments all the time from people where I'm like, you clearly haven't seen LaVine play. Because they'll, like, say something like, oh, he's not a good shooter or something like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? that's like what he's known for. Or he's not a great scorer. And it's like, that's all he is. Like, that's what he's known for. Right. So, like, again, I don't know how much of it is just like people just aren't familiar with LaVine, or they hear just like the stigma from, reports or whatever. Right. Or they're seeing Chicago be bad. Like, I get comments from, like, regularly from, like, an abundance of people. They're like, why would we get this guy or that guy? They're not winners. Like, what? Like, okay, Anthony Davis wasn't a winner before we traded for him, and we won a championship. Joel Embiid isn't a winner. So are we only supposed to ever trade for, like, Giannis and who? So, like, if Luka became available, so, like, right now, if they were like, we'll trade you Luka for Austin Reeves, obviously they can't. But let's say they could, right? You wouldn't trade for Luka because he's not a winner. Like, you wouldn't trade for Giannis. Oh, I guess Giannis is a winner, so never mind. That's a bad example. But you get my point. Right? Like, most guys aren't. Well, there's very few winners in this league, right? And also, Zach LaVine has basically been the number one guy everywhere he's gone. He's not the number one guy, right? Would you take Jalen Brunson if you could? Of course you would. But he's not the best player on a championship team, right? Zach LaVine isn't if he's your best player and you want to be a contender, you're not going to be a contender. but he wouldn't be our best player. He wouldn't even be our second best player. He'd be our third best player. So the Lakers would be in great shape. So yeah, I get it. Mitch coming out $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Lakers need a scorer, backup big, and on-ball defender point guard. Well, I mean, that's what Gabe Vincent is supposed to be, and hopefully he can be when he gets back from injury. Right? I mean, he should have gotten surgery to begin with. I don't know why he did it, but whatever. He did it. It is what it is. Yeah, Lakers definitely need a scorer and a backup big. Again, Chicago solves both of that. Right? Go get Zach LaVine. Go get Andre Drummond. There you go. Right? Now at that point, can you manage to go get Royce O'Neal? And now you basically have everything. You basically solve 90% of your issues. The other like 10% is like Darvin Ham's rotations and coaching and decision making at times, and then effort. Right? If they show up with effort, that solves like the other 5%, and then you still have like Darvin Ham. But at that point, I think you'd be good enough to offset whatever. So again, and if you consolidate the rotation, it would make it easier for Darvin Ham. So inherently, he would just be better, right? Because he wouldn't have to try to, how do I get 12 guys minutes? It's like, well, you don't. Now you only have to get like 8 guys minutes. So just play these 8 guys and you're good, right? So that's kind of my thing. But Mitch, appreciate you. Thank you so much for super chat. Let's see, where were we? We were need some scoring more than just LaVine and AD. I'm assuming you were saying LaVine's not enough. Look, he is enough because what happens is now everybody drops, right? So like the problem is like Reeves is not consistent enough to be your third guy. Well, now he's your fourth guy. So now even when Reeves gives you 10 points, it's that much more impactful because now you have LaVine going and giving you, let's just say he gives you 20. So now you have LaVine giving you 20. You have LeBron giving you, 25, and you have AD giving you 25. So you have 70 between those two guys, right? And then Reeves now, if he has a bad game and gives you 10, well, now it's not that much impactful because now it's like, well, okay, LeBron gave you 50, Reeves gave you 10 because he had a bad game. That's only 60 points. So you're 20 points fewer than you would be with LaVine. And then the games where Reeves, goes off and is shooting well and he gives you 20, you're probably winning all of those games. Not just that, but then your most consistent guy next to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, who is Taurean Prince, right? Because he will still get his shot attempts just because he's a catch-shoot three-point shooter. So if he continues to play the way he's playing, now he's not your third consistent scorer. So now his game is more impactful. So now when he gives you 12 points, it's that much more impactful, right? So now everybody drops and things balance out. Now you don't have – now when you run Cam Reddish and Vanderbilt together, you don't have to worry so much about them being an offensive liability because you have a guy – and Zach LaVine that can just go get a bucket whenever he wants, and LeBron and AD, right? So now it balances out and it offsets that. Like everything falls in line, right? Now, obviously, would I love a Royce O'Neal or an Alex Caruso or something like that? Sure, if you can make that happen, then great. But Zach LaVine by himself puts everybody where they're supposed to be. Austin Reeves is not your third best player. He should be your fourth. Well, guess what? Now he would be your fourth, right? Taurean Prince is not supposed to be your third best player. Now he'd be your fourth or fifth, right? So now Reeves and Prince now fall in line to like where they're supposed to be. So it would improve the offense tremendously. For the cost, I'd rather have Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich over who? Talking about Zach LaVine? I like Bogdanovich, but yeah, he's not the scorer. Again, scoring. Lakers are done. Time to blame Darvin Ham for the players' garbage play. Look, I talked about this before. I'm not big on – look, Darvin Ham is a huge part of the problem, but he's not the only problem. Right? A lot of people like to default. Like if we traded Darvin Ham, or if we – not traded. If we fire Darvin Ham, all of a sudden we're the best team in the league. That's just not true. That's just not going to be the case. Right? Will they be better? Possibly. Depends on the coach that you get. But – like getting rid of Darvin Ham doesn't solve all your issues. It's not like all of a sudden the Lakers are the best team in the league, right? Like the players still have to play. They still have to show up. Guys still have to hit shots, right? Like still got to play defense. It doesn't matter, right? So again, Darvin Ham is part of the problem, but he's not the only problem. It's not like, oh, Darvin Ham's gone, that's it. Now we're the best. Now we're better than Boston. We're better than Denver. We're better than everybody. No. Do they get blown out like that? Nah. When you don't hit shots and you can't stop the other team, it's really easy to have happen. Be wide open, and Reeves got his head down, dribbling for his dear life, which is a problem. I've talked about it. He gets tunnel vision a lot. This team built for the play-in, not a championship contender team. What a trash coach job, trash roster, just like the Warriors. Right now they are. They are a play-in team. Free LeBron and AD. No trades going to work with how tough the West is this season. A lot of trades, Corey. You'd be surprised what something could do. Again, people said the same thing last year when we were in the conference finals. I'm tired of watching Bron and AD. No help. Just trade Reeves for Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, and D'Lo, Rui for LaVine and Drummond. Like I said, I wouldn't hate it if you can make that happen. You'd probably end up trading Reeves to Chicago because Rui makes a world of sense for the Nets. So, like, if something like that did happen, I'm not saying it will, but if something like that did happen, it would probably be like Reeves, D'Lo, and then like whatever else, Gabe Vincent or whatever, to Chicago for LaVine and Drummond, and then it'd be like, Rui, Hayes, Jalen Hood-Schifino or whatever for Royce O'Neal and Dorian Finney-Smith or whatever, or maybe Gabe Vincent goes there. But my point is Rui would probably go to the Nets. Reeves would probably go to Chicago is my bet, because like the Nets need Rui. They don't have that sizable forward that can play the four. Like Rui would be perfect for the Nets. That's probably my guess. D'Lo hurt, Cam hurt, Rui hurt again. It's just ridiculous. Yep, I'm exhausted. Trade everyone. Not name LeBron and AD and fire Ham going into the new year. Like I said, they're not going to fire Ham. It's just there's nobody that's like makes sense to replace him. And I know people think anybody's better than him, but it's not necessarily true. But also, again, like you'd have to pay him, and if that coach doesn't work and you're just as bad, even after trades and stuff, it's like you're just in trouble. So we're going to have to at least bare minimum ride this year out with Darvin Ham. Bare minimum, you're going to have Darvin Ham the rest of this year. Ham's not the right coach for the Lakers. He definitely cost some games. Yeah. Ham must go. He left Reeves out there the whole fourth quarter. Tired as hell. Ham can't see obvious moves. Must go. Please fire him. Who is he supposed to play? Like, look, Ham's been terrible. I'm not denying that. But again, we didn't have Rui. We didn't have Cam. Didn't have D'Lo. Who are you supposed to play? This is just not a good team. 500 team is what it is. I mean, they are. I mean, it's literally what they are, right? Like, there's no, maybe they're, no. They're a 500 team. All those potential trade pieces are injured now. Just amazing. Yeah, I'm not really worried about. None of them are like major injuries. So they'll be all right. What happened to Rui? He did not see it. He had a calf strain. So he strained his calf like 5 minutes in the game. The Bulls are not moving Drummond, just Zach maybe. Don't be surprised. Andre Drummond's on a vet minimum deal. They need to get rid of Zach LaVine. I'm not saying that, it's a guarantee, lock it in, but don't be shocked if that happens. Let's see. TP is the best at the 2, but I don't like him at the 3. Yeah. I mean, that's why kind of like, again, if you could go get like a Finney-Smith or something like that, then you could play like Prince at the 2, Finney at the 3, kind of upgrade that. Lakers misuse Wolves like the Mavs misuse Porzingis. Absolutely. 100%. They have not been good in that regard. Andrew, coming out, $2 super chat. Thank you so much. Do you think Pelinka is willing to go all in? If it's there, yes. If it makes sense. Right? Like, Pelinka's done a good job, right? And he's done a great job at finding value. But also, like, you don't want to oversell, right? So, like, you don't want to just trade for Zach, because, like, you need to get more than Zach LaVine. So, like, if you have to trade, like, your first-round pick, your pick swap, Rui, Reeves, and everything else just to get LaVine, then I don't see Darvin Ham doing that. Just because, it doesn't make sense. You might as well be patient. And at the trade, like, yes, it would suck to kind of waste this year, but this offseason, you'd have 3 firsts to trade. So now let's say Donovan Mitchell does become available in the offseason, you'd have enough assets to go get him. Because now you could do like Rui, D'Lo, Austin Reeves, and 3 firsts to go get him, right? And then just build around him if you wanted to. So, like, again, I just think it depends on, like, what is the demand. I don't think that that's going to be the case because Chicago has to get LaVine off of his roster. Like, what is their other option? They're going to bring him back? Chicago's been good without him. He doesn't fit next to DeMar DeRozan because they're too similar of players. Now you have Colby White, who has emerged into like an all-star level player, right? So, like, what? You're gonna bring Zach LaVine back and move White back to the bench, and now you're gonna have that conflict. He doesn't get along with the coach. Him and Donovan just don't make sense. Like, they don't like each other. Him and the front office have an issue. Like, they're in a position they have to get rid of Zach LaVine. And I just don't see a bunch of teams lining up to go get Zach LaVine. There's going to be a lot of, like, movement this offseason or this trade deadline. I think there's going to be a lot of interchangeable parts, right? And the thing is, like, everyone's going to be going for everything else but LaVine. So if the Lakers swoop in, I think they'll get LaVine for relatively cheap, personally. That's my guess. But I don't know. Time will tell. Andrew, keeping it going. Not going to lie, this would be career defining for him. Yeah. It just depends on what it is. I definitely think he will if it makes sense, right? I mean, Darvin Ham is what I love about Rob Pelinka. What I love about Rob Pelinka is he's very patient, right? He has a good understanding. He's done a good job of, like, getting value in trades, right? Everyone swore, oh, you're not going to be able to move Russ. All the reports were like teams are trying to gouge the Lakers. Utah's never going to trade Vanderbilt. They're never going to trade Beasley. They want to give you this guy or that guy. And guess what? The Lakers got everything they want, right? And they were able to get to the conference finals. Even before that, right? Like, because you got to remember, the Russell Westbrook thing was not Rob Pelinka did not want Russell Westbrook. He had deals lined up, a deal done, signed, sealed, ready to be delivered for Buddy Hield. And then DeMar DeRozan himself said he was going to the Lakers, and he thought it was already done. Said it in an interview, and then ended up, no, we want Russell Westbrook. Jeannie says, go make that happen. And guess what? It happens, right? So Rob had that. Rob, even earlier, you got to remember, in the offseason, he had Miles Turner and Buddy Hield for Russell Westbrook. Signed, sealed, ready to deliver, and Jeannie vetoed that, right? So, again, like, Rob Pelinka's done a good job. They win the championship, and what does he do? He upgrades the roster. He goes and gets Dennis Schroeder and Montrezl Harrell, 2 6-man of the year guys the previous year, to add to Kuz and KCP and everybody. And if Anthony Davis doesn't get hurt, the Lakers probably go back-to-back. So, and Rob I trust. Personally. But, again, time will tell. We will see. But, Andrew, thank you. Appreciate you. Where were we? We were I think we're here. So what exactly was Ham's big plans for what? That's what I'm trying to figure out, too. I have no idea. Like, maybe it was just talk just to get him on the Lakers, but even then. Bro, these guys play no defense outside of AD. Yeah, it was rough today. Definitely rough today. Let's see. Lauri Markkanen, if only. We don't have enough assets to trade for Lauri Markkanen. And Utah doesn't have to trade Lauri. I mean, he's young enough to where they could keep him for the next 5 years. Let's see. That buyout, Chris Paul, you were calling for us, going to be real nice. Is it pick and roll 80? I hope so. Again, it's just a thought. I'm not saying it will happen, but chances are the Warriors are going to make some type of trade too. And Chris Paul is going to have to be in that deal. And, right, so, like, let's say they add Chris Paul into the Siakam deal, right? I'm just using this as an example. Let's say Chris Paul gets traded to Toronto for Siakam, right? And, obviously Kuminga or whatever else, right? And they do get Siakam and maybe Jakob Poeltl or whatever, right? Just example. Toronto's not going to keep Chris Paul. They're going to buy him out. So then at that point, he'd be a free agent. LeBron, call him up, especially if you trade D'Lo. Like, again, my absolute dream would be like if we could go get Zach LaVine, Andre Drummond, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, and then like whether it has to be a 3-team deal or you do independent deals, and then Chris Paul comes off a buyout. If you can't win with that, I don't know what to tell you. You're the deepest and best team in the league by far, right? Like, because now you have a starting five of like Zach LaVine, Royce O'Neal, Dorian Finney-Smith, LeBron James, and Anthony Davis, and then on the bench you'd have like Chris Paul, Taurean Prince, Jared Vanderbilt, Cam Reddish, Christian Wood, and Andre Drummond. Like, so you're 11 deep. You have shooting and defense on the bench. You have scoring on the bench. You have big versatility on the bench. You'd be set. Again, if you can't win with that, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that would be ridiculous. And it's not will it happen? Probably not. But a combination of that could happen, right? Like, Lakers could go get Zach LaVine and then just trade just for Royce O'Neal. And then Chris Paul, if he ends up getting traded and bought out, boom, there you go. There's that. But, yeah, I like the idea of Chris Paul, especially now that he's shown he's willing to come off the bench. He's willing to play a backup role, right? It kind of gives some stuff, right? See, this is what we need. A center and a scorer like Zach LaVine and Kelly Olynyk. I wouldn't mind. Kelly Olynyk is another solid option. I wouldn't mind that at all. Less assists and three-pointers mean that the wrong shooters are taking too many threes, and that is not a coaching matter. It's just who their teams are leaving open or we're kicking it out to. How are we a Brooklyn trade? Reeves isn't being traded, bro. Gabe is out. No one wants him now. D'Lo and Rui only make $32 million. Lavender's and I'm assuming LaVine and Drum is $45 million. Break the math down, please. Again, it wouldn't be just D'Lo and Rui. D'Lo and Rui would be the centerpiece of that. And not just that, Gabe Vincent would be, if they were to trade Gabe Vincent, it would just be added salary, right? Like, again, they need to move Zach LaVine. So it would be something like D'Lo, Rui, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Jackson Hayes, and whatever else for these three guys. I've broken it, actually, by the numbers. I've broken it down in several videos. Let's see. Andrew, coming out with the $5 super chat. I just don't really understand the thought process of going all in for Murray. I don't either, to be honest. We would be going all in for a lower ceiling than Zach provides. I agree with that. Also, again, it's just one guy is good off the ball, the other one isn't. Like, it's just what it is. Like, one guy can play off the ball, one guy can't. Right? And one guy is a good finisher around the rim, one guy isn't. One guy is a good shooter, and one guy isn't. I understand the salary and stuff like that, but it's just got to get what makes the most sense. Again, you got to get what makes the most sense. But I don't know. Time will tell. We'll see. See how it goes. Ideally, you go get Zach LaVine. Like I said, you go get Andre Drummond. You make that work some way, somehow, and then you go and try to flip a Royce O'Neal or whatever, give up first, whatever you have to do. Go make it, go balance it out, go figure it out. So I'm with you. Let's see. JHS would be included, the $3.6 million. We have the salaries. It would be a massive mistake to not trade Reeves. Yeah. I mean, again, they don't even have to trade Reeves to make that work, to make it happen. Like I said, I don't have all the numbers in front of me. Zach LaVine and Andre Drummond combined isn't $45 million. I know that. Because Zach LaVine's making 40 something, 40.5 million or whatever, and then Andre Drummond's only making $3 million. So you're talking that's 42, 43 million. D'Lo's making 17 million, 17.5 million, and Rui's making 15, so you're at 32. You only need 10 million to get to where you need to get to make the salaries work, right? Like I said, you do Jalen Hood, Schifino, Jackson Hayes and whatever else you basically supplement it, and you only have to reach 110%. And then the Lakers also have like $3 or $4 million and like wiggle room for the hard cap. So like again, they can make it work. And then like if you were to do like, that's why I think like if the Lakers do a Brooklyn trade, it's probably going to be a 3-team deal. It'll probably be included with Chicago, and then various pieces and parts will go X, Y, and Z, and then picks and everything like that will go X, Y, and Z, and it'll kind of be like Chicago and Brooklyn are like, okay, we want this guy. We want this guy. We want this guy. If something like that was to happen. God forbid if O'Neal ends up like Beasley. Even if he does, at least he can play defense. Like the problem was Beasley couldn't defend me. So it was like he just was terrible. So that's the problem. Andrew, coming out $2 super chat. Name me any other guard that fits better than Zach. I mean, as it's available, I don't know. Like, if you're talking like in general, I think there's guys like Donovan Mitchell. I think would make more sense. Right? He's a little undersized, but he's just as dynamic, and he's heavily proven in the playoffs. Right? But again, who's available that is realistic? Right? Again, I think that there are other guys that could make a world of sense, but it's just who can you get that would fit the role, fit the need, and just be able to basically close that gap. Zach LaVine is one of the few, right? But, and again, we have the assets to trade for him. We'd be able to trade for him. There's not many other teams that want to trade for him. So I think it would be fine. I think you can make it work. Where were we? The Gabe situation really crippled us in more ways than one. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think Gabe was going to be included in the LaVine trade anyway. I really don't. I think and I don't think the Lakers would necessarily would have wanted to trade him. Like Gabe doesn't really make sense for the Chicago, right? If Gabe's going to end up getting traded, it's going to be to another team elsewhere, right? Or it's going to be like I said, a 3-team deal. Because if the Lakers or D'Lo ends up going to Chicago, well then there's your playmaker. And Lonzo may come back next year. So, again, like Gabe doesn't really make a lot of sense for them. So, I don't think Gabe was going to be in the deal regardless. And at that point, you're talking, like I said, you get D'Lo, Rui. You only need to fill in like $10 million with Andre Drummond. And at that point, they're just stacking guys, and you'll be good. They'll be able to figure it out. Another great game by the Lakers organization. Oh, gotta laugh through the pain, I guess. Yeah, thanks. Let's see. Well, we definitely do. I feel like the Lakers either win by around 20 or lose by around 20 in many games. It's kind of how it goes. They either blow teams out or they don't, or they lose outright. Since any trade can't make the Lakers solve the issue 100%, is there a team that has no issues? No, every team in the league has issues, right? I mean, like Boston, their lack of depth is concerning. I mean, they're trying to solve that. They're looking to try to make trades to solve that, but their lack of depth is an issue. Their love for the 3-point shooting and how they settle at times. Coaching is another big issue with Joe Mazzulla, right? Denver defensive issues, lack of depth. The way that they're playing this year hasn't been on par. Minnesota, lack of experience, right? Questionable depth outside of like Naz Reid and Anderson, right? At times, not consistent offensively, excellent defensively, but offensively, they haven't been good. I mean, you could go through every team and list probably 5 things. Like, no team is 100% like unbeatable. Right? Like, so every team has their issues, has their flaws. And the Lakers are not going to be able to solve all of them undoubtedly. You could get pretty close. Like I said, if you could figure out a way to, like I mentioned, go get Zach LaVine, Andre Drummond, Royce O'Neal, like that solves like 90% of it. Right? But again, there's still holes, there's still issues, there's still everything. LaVine is on the way on the 15th, yeah. Let's see. Sorry, trying to find something. Me, it must. Here we go. It must. Uh, it's a must. We get LaVine at this point. You see, LeBron is playing good still. We have to capitalize now. I am right there with him. They got to do something. Got to get something. LaVine is hurt right now. Is injured right now. Yeah, but I mean, there was even talks when he got hurt. Like, how much was like Chicago sitting him out? He might. There are reports that he'll never play another game for the Bulls, regardless. Like even if he's able to play right now, they're not going to play him, right? But also, they're in no rush to bring him back. Right? If they were like in a position where they needed Zach LaVine back, he probably would be back, but they don't. Like they want to trade him, they need to get rid of him. So he'll probably play. They'll probably bring him back for like a handful of games before the trade deadline. So like my guess is he'll probably come back around the 15th, play like 3 games just to show teams like, hey, he's still, he can still play. His legs didn't fall off, and then that'll be that. Let's see. Sorry, trying to find something to meet. Lakers just suck all of a sudden. I mean, there have been issues all season. I don't think it's been like all of a sudden. There's been stuff literally all season. It hasn't been something like that. Doc folds under pressure. Let's be real. Yeah, I'm not a big Doc Rivers guy. Again, he's going to go down as the coach that underachieved. I mean, nobody's underachieved more than he has in like the history of basketball as like a head coach. Since I already got that one. Let's see. Doc Rivers has been kissing the Lakers and LeBron James video this past week in the media. Yeah, because he probably wants to. He's probably open. Oh, like maybe I can get a new coaching job, but the Lakers need to stay as far away from him as possible. Let's see. Oh, got another super chat. Andrew coming out the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Boston made major moves. Clippers did. Bucks did. Phoenix did. I think we need to do the same and go all in. Time is of the essence. We can't waste it. I'm right there with you. I mean, again, you got to keep pace. You can see the clear issues that this team has. You got to course correct. You got to figure it out. Right? Again, it depends on what's out there and like what's realistic and what can get done. But I definitely think LaVine is. I definitely think you can kind of offset that. It's just, again, how does this play out? Do you find a third team? Do you just do straight up with the Bulls? Can you convince them to give you this? Do you have to give up all these assets? Right? It's just going to come down to like, what is the semantics of the trade? But I mean, you even Boston. Boston is actively trying to upgrade their depth. Boston is actively trying to find other pieces to make them better, right? Teams like the Bucks and the Celtics and the Clippers and the Denver, if they can find something, a lot of these teams are still going to be looking for deals, try to improve. Like, right, Lakers aren't good enough now. They can't stand pat. You have to go do something, right? Again, you don't want to sell the farm for something that doesn't make you like Zach LaVine by himself would make us a lot better, but like you definitely need other variables, but I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. I personally, and look, I could be wrong. Maybe the Lakers don't trade for Zach LaVine. The Lakers don't trade for Zach LaVine. That I'm pretty confident that it'll be because Chicago wanted 2 firsts, Austin Reeves. It's going to be something where like they wanted everything from the Lakers, and the Lakers were like, no, because it doesn't make sense. You're doing Chicago a favor. Right, and there's not going to be a huge market for LaVine, right? So like no team is going to be giving up a bunch of stuff for LaVine. Like again, it's what it is. Chicago has enough guards already, but they need to get rid of Zach LaVine. That's the problem. Like D'Lo, I don't know how much they actually use D'Lo, although he would make sense off the bench, right? But more likely than not, they'd probably look to flip D'Lo or just let him. Hopefully he opts out next year and he goes elsewhere. It would be more just to get rid of Zach LaVine, get a contract, get a guy like Rui Hachimura who makes a world of sense for him, get a young guy and like maybe get like a Max Christie or a Maxwell Lewis, and then there you go, or Jalen Hood-Schifino and Maxwell Lewis. Now you got 2 young guys that could be part of the future as well as that. So it's not like D'Lo isn't going to be like the grand prize for them. Let's see what else. Finishing the new year with a sugar overload, Tyler. Hopped up on Mountain Dew. Dr. Pepper. Only Dr. Pepper. Also, Happy New Year's, Goofy Goober. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, Happy New Year's, everybody. I'm going to go like 10 more minutes and I'm going to get out of here. Don't forget to hit that like button to help Tyler start the new year off right. Yes, thank you so much, Blucka. Yes, take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. People are beautiful. Thank you. Let's see, where were we? We need Braun, LaVine, Prince, Vando, AD, starting with Caruso coming off the bench. I would love Caruso. I'm not really confident they'll be able to get Caruso, but you never know. Gabe was supposed to be our next ball handler, another 15 points off the bench plus point defender. Now he can't even trade him. Again, you'd be surprised teams would take him. Yes, he's injured right now, but he'll be back. He'll be healthy. He should have done the surgery. It's not like a major surgery. It's a minor surgery, and that has an excellent success rate. Like nobody's like been career ending from what happened to Gabe Vincent. Like teams will still like if teams like Gabe Vincent, they'll still trade for him. Because like Chicago's not winning a championship this year. The whole point is to unload Zach LaVine, get the pieces that you can, see what the team looks like, and then in the offseason make adjustments accordingly, or see if you need to trade whoever you need to trade, whatever. So yeah. We are 6-13 on the road. Yes, we are terrible on the road. Imagine the Lakers franchise hire Doc Rivers as a coach. No way, leave him commentating. Agreed. I'm right there with you. Y'all are dreaming you getting LaVine and Murray. The Lakers aren't going to get LaVine and Murray. Like they'll probably get one or the other, but they're not going to get. I don't think that they have the assets to get Murray either. Even if Murray really is on the table, I just don't see Atlanta trading him for D'Lo, Rui, or D'Lo and a first or whatever. And I don't think the Lakers would trade a first for him, especially after they traded 3 firsts and a pick swap for him. I just don't see that happen. Let's see. But in the end, Rob Pelinka will make a small trade, only not a blockbuster trade, same as last year. I mean, technically that wasn't. I mean, they didn't blockbuster trade for a superstar, but they got like 6 new players. Duck isn't the answer. We have Phil Handy. Dwight needs to come scoop up Max Christie. Lakers need to fire Ham and get a coach. Jay already. FX. Get Jay on the court. Where was the defense tonight? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Teams against it feels that way. Definitely feels that way. Offense is 90% of our issue. Yeah, offense is a big problem. We just need a secondary playmaker off the bench like Tyus Jones. I don't think that's all we need. Because again, guys can't hit shot is the issue, right? Like the Lakers get a playmaker, like that's fine. And D'Lo's been great in the playmaking role. Like his metrics are fantastic when he actually gets the opportunity to make plays. He just doesn't get to very often. He's off the ball more. LeBron is on the ball more, or Reeves or whatever, right? And D'Lo is our second best playmaker. Dude, the one game that D'Lo got to play playmaker and LeBron wasn't in the game, he put on a clinic, an absolute clinic. Let's see. Sorry, trying to find something to me. If other teams wanted him, they would have gotten him by now. The problem is not a lot of teams that can trade for him even right now, because a lot of teams are still in the same position we are. But I don't think other teams are really going to be looking to go and trade for him personally. I just don't. Scoring would be better with LaVine. It'd be much better, which is a big problem for the Lakers. Geez, we hit rock bottom. Yeah, I mean we're a 500 team now, which is tough, man, tough. So Ty, Give me your list of players that need or will most likely not be in LA after January. D'Lo, Rui, I think are gone. Jalen Hood-Schifino, and then either Max Christie or Maxwell Lewis. I think the Lakers will try to keep Max Christie and try to trade Lewis. And then beyond that, I think it'll just depend on like what other moves they make, if they make any other moves. But yeah, my guess is like Gabe, I'm kind of 50-50 on. Gabe Vincent, I think it comes down to like do they do like a Royce O'Neal or something like that? But time will tell. We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully. But definitely Rui and D'Lo, I think, are pretty safe goners. How soon do you think the moves happen? January or February? If I had to, I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers made a minor, like, let's say the Lakers really do look to go get Royce O'Neal. I could see something like that happening early. Like the LaVine trade, I don't think happens till like end of January at the earliest, right? So like the Lakers could technically do it January 15th, unless Chicago is just like just take him, right? Like if Chicago like doesn't really try to play hardball, which I don't think they will do. I do think that the Lakers will eventually get a good deal for him. But I think in the beginning, Chicago is going to try to play the whole, like, oh, no, like you need him. Look how it goes. And I also think it comes down to like, where are the Lakers at? Right. So like if January 15th, like let's say the Lakers win these next 5 home games. I'm not saying that they will, but let's say they do. And they're back to 5 games over 500. They're looking good. Let's say we get to like January 15th and we're, 5 or 6 games over 500. Then I think the Lakers would be in a position to be like, like, relax. Like, we want LaVine, but we don't need LaVine. Like, it's fine, right? We've righted the ship. So I think it just depends on the situation. Like, if you asked me this on the 10th, I'd probably have a better answer. Right now, I think it's just there's so many variables. That makes sense. But if I had to like this predict what I think is going to happen right now, if they don't do a minor trade, then they like Zach LaVine won't be traded till like end of January, early February, around like closer to the trade deadline than the 15th. But I could see a minor trade happening again, like a Royce O'Neal or something like that, rather than let's just go get Zach LaVine. It's probably be my guess. But all right, here, let me power through a couple more questions, and then I'm going to skate on out of here. Obviously, any super chats I will prioritize as always. But beyond that, I'm just going to power through and then skate on out of here. Lakers are falling apart right now. It kind of feels that way. It's rough right now. OG just got traded to the Knicks, bro. Yeah. But, yeah, what does that have to do with anything? I'm telling you that helps 98% of our issue. I'm assuming that OG thing was probably a response to somebody else. Sorry, trying to find something to me. Claxton, Dorian Finney-Smith, and Royce O'Neal. I would love that. I don't think that they trade Claxton, though, personally. But if you can, I would be all for that. Actually make it AR and Hayes in a second for Jai Crisper and Muscala. I'm kind of like the Muscala. I'm not really like didn't the Lakers have Muscala for like a week? I don't think the Lakers. If the Lakers trade Austin Reeves, it'll either be for a move that they believe makes them a contender, right, or it'll be for a star. Let's see. We need a good rotation. Thus, this is not okay to lose and damn near fastest player in the league yet. Got to get better. Only problem is our major trade pieces in Gabe, D'Lo, Rui are now injured. They'll have to hurry back and establish some value. Otherwise, no one will want them. Again, Rui and D'Lo, I don't think will be out that long. But even then, like any team that's trading for Rui and D'Lo are probably not contending this year. And they know what they're going to get from Rui. D'Lo, I think most of the teams are just like he's just going to be the salary filler, right? I think it just depends. I don't really see these now. Gabe maybe because teams might be like, well, Gabe can't play, right? And how does he look after the or surgery? Does he end up missing the whole year? Like that might be a little bit of a concern. I just don't see those because again, like if Chicago's trading Zach LaVine to the Lakers, it's gonna be more so to get him off the roster and like get back like a Rui or whatever for the long term. They're probably not going to start any of those guys, right? Because they're probably not going to want to disrupt the chemistry that they have right now. So any of those guys would just be bench guys, and then they're just going to want to see how they look like when they come back. So I don't. I'm not saying it's nothing, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. And there's still time, right? Like D'Lo and Rui, they're not going to be out 3 months, right? Let's see if LaVine will get traded to Lakers or the Brooklyn players. I'll be shocked if they get LaVine and Dorian. I mean, I'd be a little shocked if they get LaVine and Dorian also. I could see them getting LaVine and Royce O'Neal, but Dorian, I think they're gonna try to like play hardball with Dorian. But I think Royce O'Neal is very expendable for them. So I could see something like Royce O'Neal and LaVine. I lean towards like Chicago or Brooklyn probably being the team that we deal with. Obviously, there's very likely will be like that random trade that we don't think of or that like hasn't been talked about. I wouldn't be shocked if like Rob Pelinka finds that, but I lean towards like if they don't do a LaVine trade, then it'll probably be Brooklyn trade. AD and LeBron, the level they're playing at is incredible. Like you said, we owe it to them to give them the necessary firepower to win it all. It's time. I'm right there with you. Right. Again, I've said this before. Like if LeBron was starting to like taper off or was looking like, he's not the same guy, then I'd say just like ride it out. Wait till the offseason where you have like 3 firsts and then maybe you can make something happen. But like right now, it's like LeBron's playing the most efficient he has played since the bubble year, or not the bubble year, since his Miami stretch. And then Anthony Davis is playing the best he's played since the bubble year. So you have your 2 guys playing the best that they've played in years. I just think you owe it to them. Like you made the commitment to sign all these guys long term and put all these pieces together and do all this stuff to try to win right now. Right? So it's not working. You need to still stay. You got to stick the course. Win it right now or get as close as you can. You owe it to them. Right? If you make the trades, let's say you trade for Zach LaVine and you trade for, and let's say you get Royce O'Neal and you get Andre Drummond, again, just using them whether you believe that you get them or not. But let's say we do get those 3 guys and the Lakers don't win the championship, or let's say they're still just as bad or whatever, like at least you did something. Right? At least you did something that made sense. Sometimes things don't work out, but at least you showed like, hey, we're trying to do whatever we can. Right? I just think you owe it to them. You got to get it done. But we'll see. If you could get Clint Capella without having to sell the farm, I wouldn't hate that. But the problem is, again, they're going to want probably 3 firsts for Murray, and the Lakers don't even have 3 firsts to trade, and then that's not even counting Clint Capella, who they're probably going to want at least probably 2 firsts for. But we'll see. If Reeves goes, we got to get Caruso back. I've said before, if Chicago was like, we'll give you LaVine, Drummond, and Caruso, but we want D'Lo, Rui, and Austin Reeves plus whatever filler, I would do that. Because again, like if you get Zach LaVine, Caruso would be a better fit than Austin Reeves. Because at that point, Austin Reeves, like my concern is that Austin Reeves becomes irrelevant because now you have Zach LaVine, who's going to be your scorer and closer down the stretch with LeBron and AD. Right? So Reeves would kind of be an afterthought. And do you really close Reeves with LaVine when Reeves is our worst defensive player? And then on top of that, LaVine, will he be at least serviceable? Right? So at that point, if you could get Caruso, I would trade Reeves because your closing lineup could be LaVine, Caruso, or Prince, whoever, right? You go with Prince, or Cam Reddish or whatever, and then LeBron and AD. And at that point, you got balance, you got everything. Caruso plays well off of LeBron. He has history with LeBron. He's won a championship with the Lakers, right? If you could get Caruso back for Reeves, then I would do that. So, like, if they were like, we want Austin Reeves, like, I would be saying, okay, well, then we want Caruso. You give us Drummond, Caruso, and LaVine. I'm not giving you a first, right? You can keep a first. Maybe you give them a pick swap out of the kindness just to make them feel like they won. But I would keep that 2029 first, because then you'd have 3 firsts in the offseason, or technically two and a half. But yeah, and then there you go. Like, you got Reeves, who's younger, more versatile, right? Like, he's better for your long term. You get, Rui Hachimura, who makes sense for now and the long term at the 4 spot for you. And then, D'Lo, you could do whatever you want. Keep him, bring him off the bench, start him, or look to trade him and move him. There you go. It's a win-win. You get off of LaVine. You get your guys that you want. We get our guys that we want. I think that would be a fair trade. But is literally Lake Show material. I think he would thrive with the Lakers. I'm not going to lie. When you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you win now. Lakers were below 500 this time last year, and guess what? They were in the conference finals. He's a clutch client. Lakers and clutch equal great business partnership. Yeah. Well, when you have LeBron, yeah, absolutely. Who would be in that trade package for LaVine? Again, it just depends on what the interchangeable pieces are on the Bulls side, if there's any, and what are they looking for, right? I mean, again, it starts with D'Lo and Rui. And then my guess would be Jalen Hood-Schifino, probably Maxwell Lewis, and like Jackson Hayes would probably be part of it. Like, that would be more likely than not the 3 combination thing. And then the Lakers would have like 2 weeks to like fill in those empty roster spots. Or they'd promote Demoy Hodge or whatever. Somebody like that, and just to like in the in-between time, and then fill out the rest of the roster. Because you have to maintain a certain limit. But again, at that point, you're getting most of what you need, and the Lakers probably look for another trade or something. But all right, last like handful of questions. This Siakam trade to the Lakers is very underrated to me. See, I don't think Siakam makes any sense, because like, yeah, he'd be an upgrade at the 3, but he still can't shoot. He's like a poor man's LeBron in the sense of like being a playmaker. Right? Like, defensively, he would help, but I don't think he helps much offensively. And like Toronto, they're probably going to get more than the Lakers can offer for Siakam. Because you're going to have a team like the Warriors or a few others that are going to be desperate for him. As long as the Lakers get LaVine, I still have faith in this season. I would too. We basically have to gut our team. Not really. The only real rotation guys you'd be trading are D'Lo and Rui. Right? Jalen Hood-Schifino and Maxwell Lewis don't play, right? Because they're rookies. So you're not losing anything there. If you lose Jackson Hayes, you get an Andre Drummond. So Jackson Hayes probably doesn't even play, right? So the only guys you're losing is Rui and D'Lo in your rotation, but you're upgrading both of them in Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine is literally more efficient than both of those guys combined, even in a down year. So you wouldn't be. And you need to consolidate depth. Like, depth is fine if it's working. The depth isn't working. The depth has meant nothing this year. I want Doc Rivers to coach this Lakers team. I want Doc Rivers to stay as far away from Lakers as possible. That guy has done nothing but underachieve. If we trade for LaVine, Caruso, and Drummond, would it still be possible to get Finney-Smith or Rosa and Neal? I don't know if we have enough assets. Probably not. Technically, could we get Dorian Finney-Smith and Royce O'Neal also? I believe so. Because, let's say you traded. I'm trying to do the math at the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know for certain. But, it would be something like D'Lo. So you'd have to do D'Lo, Rui, Austin Reeves, and Jalen Hood-Schifino, because like Reeves would get you what? That's 12. So say 33 plus 12 will get you 43. That's what, 40, 50. It's 53. So you need another like 10 million. So again, you do like Jalen Hood-Schifino, Maxwell Lewis, and like Jackson Hayes or whatever. That would get you to basically give or take what it is for those three, LaVine, Caruso, Drummond. And then you'd have to do like Gabe Vincent, Taurean Prince, Max Christie, and like one or two. Basically, you'd be swapping out your entire roster. So like you'd basically be trading everybody not named like LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and like Cam Reddish. And you could make that work. But like I would even trade Vanderbilt and all that stuff if I had to. Like if you get Dorian Finney, like if you could get all of those, you get LaVine, Caruso, Drummond, Finney-Smith, and Royce O'Neal, right? Trade everybody. At that point, I don't care. Like the only guys I would keep is like Christian Wood and Cam Reddish. And then everyone else can go. Like trade literally everyone else. Because at that point, you basically have your 8, you have your 7. So you're getting back 5 guys there plus LeBron and AD. There's 7 of your like 9 playoff guys. You'd have Christian Wood. There's 8. Cam Reddish would be 9. Like you'd be fine. So yeah, technically, could they? Yes. Will they? Probably not. Let's see. Depends if the Bulls want a first-round pick or not, as well. That may if they include Caruso, Drummond with the Lakers with LaVine. Yeah, like if it's just like LaVine and Drummond, I don't think the Lakers will give up a first. I just don't. Or it'll be like a ridiculously heavily protected first. It would be something like top 15 protected or something crazy like that. But I think that they would just keep it. Bano needs to go back to the bench. 4 points, 20 minutes is crazy. Yeah, I mean, he's not there for offense. He's there for defense, rebounding, and hustle. Zach is too injury prone. What do you define as injury prone? Right? Because Zach LaVine played 77 games last year and 70 the year before. He hasn't played fewer than like 60 games in the last like 5 seasons. Like, again, I see a lot of people throw around injury prone, but I don't think they know what injury prone. Like, again, which players play 82 games anymore? Right? Most players play around like 70 games. So Zach LaVine, he's still hurt a lot. Again, like what do you define hurt a lot? 77 games played is not hurt. I mean, he's only missing 15 games a year. That's less than like half the stars in the league. Would you trade for Joel Embiid? Would you trade for Luka? Would you trade for Giannis? Just like Big Doug said, if we trade for LaVine, Drummond, and Caruso, we won't be able to make any other moves. I mean, we can. It just depends on what you give up. Again, you got to remember, Lakers have a lot of like tradable contracts for like mid rotation guys. Y'all act like the Lakers will be getting LaVine this month in January, but I see the Lakers. I will make some small trades first. That's what I'm saying. Like I could see the Lakers making like a mind. Like I said, like just using them as an example, like a Royce O'Neal first, and then like wait out the LaVine trade. Because like I said, both sides are probably gonna negotiate. It's in the best interest for Chicago to be patient. They don't need to rush. Because like, what if somebody does come out of left field and say like, okay, we want LaVine, right? Or like, what if a team has somebody go down and they're like, all right, like let's just go get LaVine. So I mean, they have to trade him, but they don't need to rush to trade him. So give me your exact trade for Zach. No buts or ifs. Anything you would give up. If you're saying just for Zach LaVine, then at that point it's just matching salaries. It's just D'Lo, Rui, like I said, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Maxwell Lewis, and like Jackson Hayes. And I wouldn't give up a first for LaVine because again, you're doing them a huge favor. You're giving them young talent. You're giving them a guy in Rui that makes sense. D'Lo is a guy that they could flip and look the other way. So do that. Trade those guys. Bring in Zach LaVine. you bring up like a Demoy Hodge and a Colin Castleton, and then you fill in the gaps. Now you just need to go get like 2 or 3 players for the season, and you're fine. That would be my guess. Imagine a starting lineup of Braun, LaVine, Finney, Vando, AD. That would just be, you're right, that would be absolute chef kiss. I thought you wanted DeMar instead of LaVine. I did. Problem is, it doesn't look like they're going to trade DeMar DeRozan. Right? DeMar DeRozan has now said 2 or 3 times that he wants to stay in Chicago and that he'd love to remain in Chicago. Chicago has said publicly that they want to keep him. The plan that Chicago has is to trade Zach LaVine, see how this team continues playing, see how the new guys that they get, whoever it is, kind of play with the current roster, and then figure out what do they need to do in the offseason. So I don't think that they're going to trade DeMar DeRozan. And so therefore, I like who's available, who's realistic, and who wouldn't break the bank asset-wise. Zach LaVine. So I wanted DeMar over LaVine. DeMar isn't an option anymore. So guess what? That gives me LaVine. We have new information now. At the time, we didn't have that information. At that time, it was just like Chicago is looking to move DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. So I was like, all right, give me DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, and Andre Drummond. Boom, let's go. Let's go win a championship. But now we have new information that tells us otherwise. So I got to go off of the information that we have. Why did the Lakers draft Jalen Hood-Schifino if they weren't going to play him? Because he's a rookie for the future, right? Like you draft him because he's a guy that helps for the future, right? He's a guy that you develop and slowly bring in that they like and were high on, right? No rookie that they drafted this year was probably going to play any minutes or any significant minutes. Like even if they had the number 1 pick, that guy probably wouldn't have played a bunch of minutes because again, you're playing alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, right? Like, I mean, well, if they got Victor Wembanyama, I blanked on who was the number 1 draft pick in this year's draft. Victor, yes, they probably would have played. But like, let's say they drafted like Scoot Henderson, right? I think he would have been off the bench, and I don't know how much he would have played, right? So like, yeah, it's just, it's the thing. Like the Lakers are in win now mode. They're not going to do it. Our problem is the depth. To be honest, Ham is getting away with not giving people consistent minutes. I mean, Ham's rotation has been tough, but our depth hasn't been great either. Like guys aren't playing well in the minutes that they are playing, but I also don't think I think it's a combination, you know. Just do it the hell with the tax. Yeah. Again, if you're winning, tax doesn't mean it. If the Lakers make the trade and win a championship, I don't think anybody's going to be like, oh, man, we shouldn't have made that trade. That was stupid. So, again, it just depends on what it is. Most of our trade pieces are hurt, shaking my head. Yeah, which sucks. But luckily, none of them are like major injuries. And like, look, you got to remember, Zach LaVine's hurt right now too. So it's not like Chicago is in a position where it's like, well, you know, your guys are hurt. It's like, well, your guy is too right now. Rui could be out for 2 months if he has a serious calf strain. Yeah, I mean, we'll find out what it is tomorrow. But it doesn't appear like it's anything major. Let's see. I'm so bitter about the Gabe situation. Yeah, I feel it. I absolutely feel it. It is very frustrating. But all right, let me Lakers about to sign Carmelo Anthony on a 10-day contract. I will go just to go get some offensive firepower. Hopefully he can still play. But anyway, I'm gonna skid on out of here, everyone. I appreciate you. I've been going almost 2 hours. I'm gonna start setting up for tomorrow and everything. Get some videos up and running. We have a couple days before that. Again, Happy New Year's, everybody. Seriously. Again, everyone be safe. No, don't get too crazy. Uber's a thing. You know, I need everyone back here. So again, be safe. Happy New Year's. Have a wonderful night, And yeah, hopefully we figure this all out. But I appreciate you guys. Seriously, thank you. You guys are all awesome. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.